Have you seen what's going on in Canada? You should really pay attention. I hope the American politicians will pay attention, but they won't until we can get some third-party candidates in here that can shake things up and really make a change. So Canada has been studying the effects of basic income. Yeah, a universal basic income in Canada. And the results are, quote, surprising and encouraging, according to Canadian authorities, especially if you have a government that's actually willing to learn and pay attention to those results and see, actually listen to the results of a test instead of ignore it and sweep it under the rug, which is what our government does. Listen to this. For 1 year, 50 homeless people were paid $7,500 per month. No strings attached. Here's $7,500 per month. No strings attached. Other than agreeing to be studied. That's it. They just had to agree to be studied. Rather than buy food, drugs, or booze, most of them spent the bulk of their money on food, rent, medicine, clothes, and they saved it. Do you hear that again? Because, the old thing is, they're just going to spend it on drugs and alcohol. Right? And cigarettes. That's what they're going to spend. If you give money to a homeless person, that's what they're going to spend it on. But instead, what they found is most of them spent the bulk of their money on food, rent, medicine, clothes, and savings. And by the end of the year, the average participant was able to save $1,000 and reported a 39% reduction in alcohol use, 39% reduction in tobacco use, and a almost total reduction in drug purchases. So the numbers here are pretty fascinating. So the researchers interpreted a couple of ways. This data has meant that the homeless people are not losers, basically. That just, if given the opportunity, they could get back on their feet. They are simply people who are down on the luck and who can pull themselves up with a little bit of help. They also calculate that paying them $7,500 per month saves the government $8,100 per month. Did you hear that? Giving them $7,500 actually saves the government $8,100 per month per person in costs of shelters, food banks, and other assistance programs. This amounts to $405,000 in savings among the 50 participants who took part in this. The study should, I think, honestly be read by Republicans. I think it should be read by Democrats too, who are averse to giving people any kind of stimulus payment or any sort of universal basic income. So when people want to say that universal basic income would create laziness, keep them home doing nothing, is sucking money off of the system, they're wrong. There's been enough other studies that show that they're wrong. Now let's talk about what Canada's been doing during this pandemic. Canada has been providing $2,000 per month in stimulus benefits to the Canadian people who need it. They also, of course, have healthcare already in place. Testing and tracing. And people describe coming across the border from Canada into the United States as going from one country that takes coronavirus seriously to another country that doesn't. This country has been doing it right. I think it's an amazing opportunity for us to look at this and say, hey, perhaps we could in the United States provide some baseline level of support for the American people who need it. A universal basic income for a year to 2 years to get people back on their feet. We'd save a lot of money. We'd save a lot of money in the cost that we have to provide people in shelters, food banks, medicines, and other things, healthcare services, because they're sick and living on the street, or being in close proximity to someone else at a homeless shelter where they're sleeping right on top of each other, basically. This, as CJP in my chat says, the U.S. government is fueled by money and greed, and it will never change. We need to make a change. We can make a change. And as by example, I'm going to show you in a story out of Alaska in just a few minutes how this kind of change can happen. And this is the kind of thing, this is what gets me out of bed in the morning. This is the kind of thing that gets me excited about our government and about our people and what we can do to try to enact change You know, uh, my wife and I have been discussing something. I'm not going to tell you the project what we're thinking about, but she does not less than me, but equal amount, I would say, so furious at like single-use plastics that just wind up in the beaches, in animals, killing whales, sea life, that can't be broken down. It washes up the massive plastic pool of crap that's floating around out in the ocean, destroying things. It's just disgusting and disheartening. So what can we do? And we've started to map out, a possible company that we're kicking around different ideas. So you can be part of the change. You can take action. We can all make a difference. And we can start by voting the right way. And I'm going to tell you about one state where there's an opportunity for you to do that in just a moment. But look, Canada is doing it right, folks. Canada has figured out things. Now, they're not perfect. No one's perfect. But Canada is trying these pilot programs. Other countries have taken giant leaps of faith. Portugal, for instance, decided, you know what? I think it was about 13 years ago, Portugal decided drug use no longer illegal. And instead of prosecuting people for drugs, we're going to get them help. Realizing that it's not a criminal behavior, that it's really a mental, it's a mental behavior. It's something that needs help. We need to put people in a special clinic to get them the help that they need. Drug crime, 0 in Portugal. That's why you have attorneys general from all over the United States have flown into Lisbon, Portugal, to meet with leaders here to figure out what in the world they're doing. How are they doing it? Just like they're flying into Norway. So they fly into Norway and they get here and they're like, how are you guys able to reform your prison system? Then they fly into Estonia. Like, how are you guys doing internet so well? How have you created universal broadband that's faster than the United States? They're flying into genocide-based Rwanda. They get into Rwanda and they get here and they say, didn't you guys just go through a massive genocide like 20 years ago? And now you have some of the most amazing technological advances of any country in the world. Education numbers off the charts. U.S. has a lot to learn. So fly to Canada for a little time. Spend some time up there. See how they're doing it, taking care of people. Absolutely disgusting. But we won't. You know why? Canada doesn't have to fuel some massive military and line defense contractors' pockets all the time. They don't have to. They'd rather take care of its people and save some money. Yeah, they pay more in taxes. But where do you think those taxes go? There's a direct correlation. Same is true in Norway. Same is true in Denmark, the happiest country in the world. Why? Well, they pay more in taxes. Yeah, 50% is in taxes, but there's 0 poverty. Wouldn't that be nice? And then you see this story over the weekend about the 50 billionaires in America have more money than 165 million Americans. 50 billion, 50 people. So we have 2 stories, right? Canada, they took 50 people that were homeless and they gave them $7,500. In the United States, we have 50 billionaires that own more wealth than 165 million Americans. America.